I believe that the question of faith, which is ultimately separable from the question of religion, is the single most important question that any person asks in and of her life. And every life is an answer to this question, whether she has addressed it consciously or not. Christian Wyman.
And Lord, I am with you always. Matthew 28:20.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Murphy, and I am a sixth form boarder from New York City. About a week ago, after reading another essay I wrote, Mrs. Stevens and I discussed the possibility of centering my chapel talk around the idea of faith. A personal and unpopular topic, I was unsure about the idea of adding to the already daunting task of a chapel with a complex idea. However, last Sunday when I arrived at the Crosby house to babysit, I asked Mr. Crosby how Vivian was doing. And this question led to a conversation about our common beliefs and what faith means to us in our lives and in the 21st century. Mr. Crosby's insights made me realize finding my faith is an important story, central to who I am that I want to share with all of you. Growing up, the influence of my religious grandparents made worship feel routine. My Nana, a strong Christian woman, showed me what it meant to bring faith into every aspect of life. My grandfather, an ordained deacon, grew up in a strict Irish Catholic household and made sure we were raised with the same morals as well. When I was 3 months old, I was baptized by my grandfather, and in the same church 3 years later, I learned how to pray. I distinctly remember peering up at my mother, questioning the room of silent, weirdly positioned individuals, and asking her, "How do you pray?" She replied, "You just talk to God, but in your head." Chatterbox me loved the idea of a new friend to talk to, and my mother loved the chance to finally enjoy some peace and quiet. Religion brought our family together. As a kid, I spent most holidays either listening to my grandfather's sermons at St. Joseph's Church or holding a real sheep in the Christmas pageant while singing Silent Night. In elementary school, my best friend and I spent our afternoons at church choir. Despite these practices, I still lacked any vocal talent, as Mr. Rashid would know from my musical audition, which went horribly. In 6th grade, I started at St. Ignatius Loyola Catholic School. At St. Ignatius, religion became a daily part of my life. I participated in theology class 4 times a week, prayed in unison at the start of each school day, and attended a weekly mandatory Mass. In addition to the daily required tasks, Catholic school came with a set of stern rules. We were taught that forms of self-expression such as makeup, hair dye, or even jewelry were a sin. Pushing back against these seemingly absurd principles, I frequently broke the rules and was sent to the principal's office to remove my mascara and recite the Hail Mary 10 times. Because of the restricting nature of worship in this environment, I began to question the harsh rules and practices of Catholicism. Personally, I felt the formality of the Catholic Church made it seem superior. I was led to believe that what I learned in school was the right way to approach religion. However, the principles I learned greatly contradicted the all-inclusive, loving God I grew up knowing. Unable to decipher which system was more accurate, I rejected the idea of God. Then, towards the end of my time at St. Ignatius, I began preparing for my confirmation. Once a week, I sat with my grandfather to talk about faith. Our meetings were intended for me to learn the sequential timeline of Christianity, but they turned into unique conversations and special moments that brought me much closer to my grandfather. He shared with me how faith helped him continue on when he lost his own father. As grateful as I was to learn from my grandfather's experiences, it wasn't until I ultimately faced my own challenges that I discovered the importance of faith. During the fall of my freshman year, I was presented with the challenge of death that entirely shifted my perspective on the world around me, life, and God. Over the course of 3 months, I lost 3 people to suicide, a freak accident, and cancer. 2 of whom were kids my age now, and the other my loving Nana. In a brief period of time, not only did I have to confront immense grief, but also a tremendous amount of difficult and possibly unanswerable questions. Maya's suicide made me question the cruel elements of our world and the loss of God in so much darkness. The second death, a freak accident, resulted from a fatal collision on the soccer field that stunned and horrified my community. This death was especially hard as I questioned the concept of time. Then, cancer broke my heart as I watched someone I looked up to my whole life be slowly taken over by tumors. I grew frustrated with the concept of faith. Part of me wanted to believe that my loved ones were at peace in heaven, that their precious lives and tragic deaths meant something. However, another side of me disagreed with the strict image of God that was previously ingrained into my head. Following the loss of these 3 individuals, I turned to my grandfather, asking him why these precious lives were taken. I explained to him that my perception of God was a higher power that wanted to fill the world with goodness. He explained to me that similar to Bible stories, life is filled with challenges. He emphasized that in life there will be difficult moments that we may not fully understand, but faith gives us the ability to learn from them. God tests us, and how we stay true to our faith, learn from those trying moments, and apply our greater understanding to life is ultimately what defines us. After my conversation with Mr. Crosby, I concluded that to me, faith is a state of mind in which we are able to view the world from a different perspective. It allows us to appreciate ordinary instances as acts of God that fill us with wonder and awe. Faith is acknowledging the presence of something larger than ourselves, which humbles us and fills us with gratitude for the opportunity to be alive. Faith is understanding that we are all human and make mistakes, empowering us to fill our hearts with compassion. To me, faith is learning from moments of adversity and growing from an enhanced new perspective. To me, faith gives me peace, knowing my loved ones are still with me in my heart and at home in heaven. Christianity, God, or even religion isn't for everyone. But for me, I have found that my faith in God helps me learn from challenges and grow. I hope that whenever you face a trying moment, you are able to learn and grow. I have faith in all of you. Thank you.